But
Hi,
thanks for letting me do this. I've been a huge fan since I was a kid.
Born. Thank you. That's so
Yeah.
sweet of you. That's very nice of you. Um, Thanks for
I
having me.
yeah. I actually have to thank Julie Madalena for providing me with your
Okay.
contact.
Oh, Julie's great. Yeah. Yeah. I'll thank her too then. I thank her too.
So I guess I can just start from the
Where
beginning.
are you, by the way?
Oh,
Where are
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, in Minneapolis. Okay. Okay. I'm not really great technically, but I'm had to get a lot better, of course, during this last year.
Yeah, it's okay.
Mhm.
So I can just start from the beginning. Didn't you go to school and grow up in Michigan?
I did. I did. I grew up in Michigan in the woods actually, but I went to school at Michigan State. Yeah. Then I came out here immediately after. Uh, did some auto shows for a long time, and but I came out after I went to Michigan State. Came out here soon after, I guess. Yeah.
What was your once you got to LA, what was your first gig here there? I mean,
Yeah. That's a good question. I did some beer commercials, Budweiser. I did one with Leon Redbone, and
oh,
uh, you know who he is?
yeah.
He's a yeah, uh, old rock and roller soul guy, and some other ones. I did mostly commercials when I first got here, and I did a lot of theater when I first got. I did a lot of theater until I had my son 19
Hmm.
years ago. Yeah, um, and from that, it actually was from theater. I was doing a show in Hollywood. The theater is gone now. It's called Theater Theater. I was doing a show there with a woman named Lee Arnone, who did ADR for films and TV and stuff.
Yeah.
And her boss, one of the guys who wrangles it, a coordinator, came to see our show. And then I started kind of getting into that world pretty quickly, because I jumped in. I've done theater all my life, so I
Right.
jumped into theater when I first got here, and then um, uh, pretty quickly that came up, and I started doing some ADR. Then I started meeting voice people, um, and I don't even know when my first anime job was, but it was after I started doing ADR and I started meeting more and more voice people, and then I met Yutaka Maseba,
Yeah.
um, and Kevin Seymour and all those folks out of Magnitude 8 and uh, Zero Limits, and started doing anime for them, which is a blast. And then after doing that, not for, well, I wish I was better at knowing when things happen, it's because I've been around so long. Anyway, after that, just generally after that, um, Kevin Seymour, who is no longer with us,
Hmm.
and Yutaka uh, used to do a lot of the anime that came in. There weren't as many. Now there's more people who do it, tons more. But Yutaka did a lot of it then,
Yeah.
and I started directing for him and doing the adaptations, writing the adaptations to sync. I didn't translate the Japanese into the English, but I took the translation and adapted it to the sync that you see in the animation that I directed too.
Hmm.
So, uh, so that was an amazing time. And Yutaka is the most generous person in anime, I think. Um, he didn't really do it. I mean, I don't know what he did, why he did what he did, but he was very generous to all his talent, his actors, his writers, everybody. And yeah, I did that until for many years and for several series while I was still doing a lot of voicing. until a month before my son was born. And a couple of the shows I had been, how old? Well, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, because then you're going to ask me how old I am. But my son just turned 19
Okay.
last month. And until 19 years ago, I did it a lot. And then actually I still worked at it, but I didn't do any more writing or directing because it's around the clock work, you know. So I had other things on my plate, and it's fun. Go ahead. I could just talk and talk.
Well, actually, before going into your anime roles, I did want to ask how the story was that you got involved with Evil Dead.
Oh, well, I had met that whole group, Sam Raimi and Bruce, Rob Tappert and Bruce Campbell and those guys. And in Detroit, I was doing some work in Detroit while I was finishing up at Michigan State, but I had also started doing auto shows and stuff like that. So I had like Detroit-based agents and things going on there a little bit.
Okay.
And I even did some car commercials where I would, and Sam and I'm remembering one in particular where Sam was the driver in one car, I was the driver in another car, and we were the precision drivers, you know. So we would drive the cars, and we were supposed to stay a certain distance apart, you know, to make the shot. And then we would pull up, and then a pretty girl and a pretty guy would get out and do the, I mean, you know, then very glamorous people would get out and be the, once the car stopped, they would be the people in the commercial. We weren't really seen. We were just the drivers, the precision drivers. So so I knew them a little bit. And then I did Josh was there too. Just little things with them, but because I had just met them and they had already finished their film and everything.
Okay.
And and they asked me if I wanted to do an evening, you know, of a shoot for their film. I actually don't know why they asked me, but I, you know, they were like new pals of mine, so I was happy to do it. And then look what happened to them. Oh my goodness, you know, and such nice guys. I mean, it couldn't happen to nicer guys. So all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I met him there briefly, and then so that was fun. It was actually just one evening of shooting. We just did all those different things, you know, the hand up, and it was fun.
Did that kind of like once the poster came out and everything, were people like recognizing you or?
No. No, not at all. I mean, the poster, since then it's been fun because of them, because people know them and they know the Evil Dead. And then if they say, you know, like now even sometimes at an ADR stage, if I'm at Universal or, you know, Warner Brothers or something, the engineers have a way to pull up stuff on their, you know, on their screen while they're showing us whatever we're supposed to be working on. And they'll pull up gag things like of us actors that are working on the things, and they'll pull up that sometimes, and they'll from years and years ago. And so people now know me, but you know, nobody did. And it became, I think, didn't it kind of become a cult thing?
Yeah.
Or was it an immediate thing? I mean, they got immediate attention for it, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much, you know.
No, I think it's been very impactful in terms of horror and everything like that.
Oh yeah, horror, comedy, combos. It's been very impactful, and people. So that's why, if someone knows, they dig it that I was that person, but nobody ever said, "Oh, are you the person?" You know what I mean? Like, But anyway, yeah, it was fun. I can still remember that evening too. Mike Ditz was the photographer. They were workers. They were, they were workers, and good workers, and creative, and still are. Really nice guys. But I can still remember that. It was fun.
Is there any like funny story with you of like holding the chainsaw and having to act all?
I haven't had my fingers cut off or anything.
Yeah.
No, but the funniest thing is, there are those. I mean, it's not even funny, and I don't even think about it till you ask me. But there's those bones. Somebody had to hold the fingers out to the side of the bones, and they were just they were just two bones sticking out. But they had a ramp, and so we could get under. I was under it because I'm coming out of the grave, but somebody must have been there too. Must have been Bruce choking me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was choking me, I remember. I mean, in the picture.
Right.
And then let's try this. I did hold this chainsaw too, didn't I?
Yeah.
Bruce did, and I did. Yeah. It was heavy, but I wish I don't have any funny stories. I wish I did.
Oh, it's still really interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and just tickles me that I'm just so pleased for them, how far they've gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they remained guys, just easygoing guys, good, talented people, but not Hollywoody,
Mm-hmm.
just really nice guys. So,
are you still in touch with both of them?
I'm not, but I got to do years later. I was doing I haven't seen him or talked to him in a long time, but years later I was doing funny how a baby changes everything. Not just that, I mean, I just didn't get out at all. And I did a lot of theater. I never was like into parties or anything like that really, but Lucy Lawless and Rob Tappert came down to see a show I was in that was a hit downtown in Los Angeles called Assassins. It was a Sondheim musical, and I played Squeaky Fromm. And I had been writing. I used to write too. I have had like 3 little movies produced that I co-wrote, and nothing big, nothing ever groundbreaking or anything. But at the time, I hadn't seen Rob in a long time, and shortly after that, they invited me to go down to New Zealand to do Hercules.
Yep.
And I got to be the mother of all monsters.
Yeah.
Which is a blast. And I just see something like that. How kind is that, to just see somebody you haven't seen in a while and say, I got the perfect part for you, the mother of all, whatever, I can use you, the mother of all monsters. So I got to go down to New Zealand 3 times and be the mother of all monsters.
In relation to that too, I actually I was friends with Tawny Katane. Did you know her very well since she was also on that show, or no?
No, I didn't. Okay. But how are you friends with?
Well, I was asking because she just passed away, so I just interviewed her normally, and she was really just really open and wasn't like a celebrity person at all. She would just become like anybody that interviewed her, and it was just really sudden. It wasn't very long ago, so
I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, I didn't. But it was so kind of them to having received me to do that, and Sam would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I give me a little thing here, something here, and continually, very kind, very kind. And it's funny, the guys who were the monster creators for the Mother of All Monsters, and probably most of their things, Greg Nataro, those guys, then See, I'm not going to say it right, but I believe, I don't know of both of them, or there were three of them, but at least one of them, KP, became the producer of The Walking Dead.
Oh,
A
wow.
little
That's
bit
cool.
later. And I worked on that show the first 5 years in ADR
Yeah.
till it wrecked my voice. I couldn't do it anymore. You know, I'd revoice a lot of the zombies and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a small world.
Mhm.
Even the little bit of it I've seen, you know, I've been in, keeps kind of coming back in different ways, you know.
Mhm.
So
So I guess, yeah, I can move on to anime now. So
okay.
do you have any kind of idea what your first role would have been? Would it have been Miyaka?
It wasn't my first role, but it was my first. Um, it was the first time that they asked me to direct and write,
Okay.
and so I had done lots of other things before that, um, but it was the first like big role because she's the main part in that series, along with 6 other people, and uh, it's interesting. So I got to direct everybody else, and I had look at. I mean, if you know who's in that show, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, you know, Darren Norris, Steve Staley, Kirk Thornton, you know, great actors, and I got to direct all them. So it was the first one where it was kind of consumed me, where
Okay.
I'd be writing, you know, it's to adapt, you have to adapt to sync. So you have to like, it's fun, but it's kind of tedious because you got to keep going, what can I say that fits in those two little, you know, mouth movements and stuff. But as far as my performance in Fushigi Yuugi, Mysterious Play, it's always kind of tears me a little bit because I love her
Mhm.
and I loved doing it. But the way I was directed from just above me was to always keep her really high, really high, really high. And even the Japanese um, actor who played her had a little more variety in her. Like she
Right.
didn't always stay up high all the time. But I could direct everybody else, but then somebody was always kind of supervising me. No, keep it up there, keep it up there. And so I always felt like, oh, I could do this better if I could just, you know, but not to complain because it was a great, fun adventure for
Mhm.
me. Great adventure for me. Um, so and I mean, just even that is a learning thing. So then you know, but I did a lot for them at Zero Limits. And then Eric Sherman from Bang Zoom had me do some things, Fushigi Yuugi. I mean, Fuho Fuhohoji.
Oh, Rayearth, yeah.
Ooh, Rare Earth, and some other things. So, and Bell Dandy, I did for Zero Limits. I
Yeah.
directed it, and then anyway, but that kind of was the first thing that was like I wrote for 8 hours, and I'd go to the studio and I'd direct for 9 hours, and then I came home and write, and then I'd, you
Wow.
know, it's kind of around the clock work when you're doing that.
And as the role with Miyaka progressed, like could you relate to her at all?
Well, she's very sweet, and she's very courageous, and she's goofy.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, in anime, when somebody gets goofy, their face changes, and
Right.
you know, they look different, and things happen to their eyes and their everything. Um, I mean, an innocent person, not very experienced in life, having to be a hero, and that's a nice inspiration, example, you know. And one thing that I do know is with anime too, and maybe probably some with Miaka too, because that's you learn about comedy too from anime when you're an actor, because you see how it's drawn and how it's timed in the just in the drawing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you say, oh, or the Japanese artist gives you, oh, that's it's, you learn things as you go. Or I would do this maybe different because it's me, I'm not quite that person, but did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
I actually have it's drawn by the lead character designer of Fushigi Yuugi. It's Suzaku's human form.
Oh yeah. It's great. How did you get that? That's amazing.
My main hobby is collecting anime, like animation cells for anime and like production art for anime. I just knew a Japanese seller that knew people that worked with the studio, and yeah,
and somehow they could get things that were either used or not used, but still there and available to that's kind of unique to be able to get that.
Yeah, like beyond unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even wrap your mind around that. Yeah. What about you? What's your first anime you ever watched?
Well, the first VHS I owned was Rayearth.
Okay.
But probably Sailor Moon. I'm sure you know what Sailor Moon is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did something in Sailor Moon. What did I do?
Yeah, like in the redub.
Yeah.
Reviz, yeah.
You know what I did yesterday?
You're
I was it yesterday or the day before? I was doing ADR for the live action version of Cowboy Bebop.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it looks fantastic.
That's good to hear.
It looks fantastic because a lot of times when anime tries to do live action versions of it,
It doesn't.
I mean, I don't even know. I'm saying that because other people say it. I don't even know, but
it doesn't work out. Yeah.
It does. Sometimes it doesn't work, but this looks amazing. Amazing.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. Fun.
And in regards to Belle Dandy, do you think that you can relate more to her than Miaka?
There's parts of both of them that she's more mature. She's more, it's funny because for a while I played all similar parts that were more on the verge of Miaka than, very, very sweet, very innocent, very scared, very in trouble, endangered. But everybody I've gotten to play, Belle Dandy is a great part too. That's the thing about acting though, no matter if it's anime or not, or if it's theater or whatever, there's always something in it that you can relate to. I mean, Iris Feel and, KOS-MOS and, or Lane,
Yeah.
Lane is very different, but I feel like very connected to Lane. And she's very dark and very, not really me, but, there's something in each part that you feel like, well, she's just trying and she's lost or she's being bombarded by things. Belle Dandy seemed to be a little more in control, but I loved playing Lane, and I loved playing those kinds of parts, even though it took him a while to to ask me, but Blue. What
Oh,
was her name?
perfect
Perfect
Blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
And then recently, I haven't done as much anime because I got very busy with ADR and things. And
Your Kanai and Demon Slayer.
yeah, I just did Demon Slayer not too long ago. That's the last thing I did was an episode of Demon Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I miss it. I miss it.
Oh, miss doing anime.
I miss doing anime.
Yeah.
Because you actually get to do a character, the whole,
Right.
you know. And ADR is great because you get to do lots of characters, but not a long story of a character, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's, you know, it's challenging. It's very creative too, and very rewarding. But anime, you get to stay in the character a little while longer, and and I miss it.
Mm-hmm.
I should call everybody. I should call Wendy Lee and call Mary Elizabeth and everybody.
I've talked to most of them at this point. I mean, I talked to Wendy. I interviewed Steve Staley. I interviewed Terrence Stone, Mona Marshall,
Mm-hmm.
even Richard Cancino. He had never been interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It's funny because when I first had my son Wolfie, is when they very first started doing anything with anime. It would just been like, I think, I mean, I may have been just out of it, but it seems like it was direct to video or whatever, you know, the video cassettes or whatever. But then after I had my son, they started doing conventions once in a while. They didn't used to have those conventions with the first 10 years I did it, I don't think. And then I had a baby, so I couldn't go anywhere, you know, and then eventually people forgot me because all these new people came, you know, just the way it happens everywhere and everything. But so I've only been to 2 conventions. Once when my son was young, and there's one down in San Diego, and they asked me to go down and just sit on a panel. And then once, now I'm gonna forget, but it was in the Midwest. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Matsuri-con.
Yes, and the nicest people there too who invited me. And that was the only convention I actually stayed at.
Oh.
So, because it all kind of happened right in the time of my life when ADR and Wolfie were there, you know.
When you did go to Matsuri-con, and when fans were interacting with you, was there one role more than others that people were coming up to for the most?
There was, and it was because that one was featured. Gurren Langham.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you were in that.
Yeah. Nia Tepelin. So that was what it was all about. That's why everybody that's why I guess I got invited.
Oh.
And I didn't even have a huge part in that, but you know, I get killed and transform the world or something. So
yeah, well, because I just talked to Kyle Hebert and Yuri Lowenthal, who were big characters on that.
Yeah, and people loved it. People became emotionally involved about it, and I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a very emotion felt. It's great. It's a very emotional show. So that's what people were interested in mostly when I was there.
Okay. And in regards to darker roles like Lain and Mima and Perfect Blue, was it? That's probably obvious, but like, was it more difficult for you to get in that kind of headspace for those characters?
Yeah, but there's kind of a permission to explore places you can never explore in life,
right?
Or I guess you can, but I mean, for me, not that I would, so you can explore them. And that's why I love theater too. You can explore all kinds of things. Uh, and I loved playing them. I always felt so sad because I kept thinking, you get, break out of this, break out of this somehow. But I remember, and I think I might have said this at MatsuroCon, that Lain in particular was kind of very representative of the new the new technology.
Right.
Everything was, people didn't live like they do now on all these devices and never see each other, just text, or never talk, hear a voice, just so it was very kind of startlingly eye-opening, that reflection about, I thought it was forward thinking for the whoever wrote it, for the Japanese person who wrote it. And they're very like that, the anime. They're very, they try to put the world out, the inner and all this stuff out there in this anime world, and very boldly and very forward thinking, I thought, and the struggle that goes along with it. It's not all, lights and games and buttons and everything. There's struggle with it too, and addiction. There's addiction to it. Yeah, look at people my son's age, it's hard. It's addicting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you addicted to any games or anything?
Not so much games. I was, like, when I was younger, and I actually, the Dot Hack series and the Xenosaga series were like my main things that I played.
Yeah. We didn't have those games when I was growing up, but now I can play Hearts on my computer or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time these days, but anyway. But I loved playing them. I wish I could play. In a way, well, it takes less energy in a way to play them, because like Miaka, it's
right.
But it's all fun. It's all fun.
And when with the third Xenosaga game, when you were Telos as well as KOS-MOS, was that a different approach for you?
It's one thing I've learned doing more voicing than, I do more voice work now than anything else I do. So I haven't done theater. I do work in the summertime for an organization called Tree People, and we present entertainment, a lot of theater and stuff, and music and all kinds of things. And actually, this is making me thinking, how could we fit anime in? And it all goes to all benefits this organization that plants trees throughout the city and everything. But other than that, voice work has been what I mostly do for, well, like I say, since my son was born. And you learn, and the same thing, KOS-MOS, you learn to pick, it's not just about changing your voice, it's changing your intention, or what's the intention of character. So when you work ADR, you have to be a dozen people, so you have to be able to kind of lock into the differences that are subtle. Otherwise it's going to seem corny.
Right.
So that's one of those things to practice in that series, the Xenosaga series.
And what were what were your thoughts on um the whole thing about KOS-MOS being Mary Magdalene and all of that, like the religious aspect of it?
I didn't even know that.
Oh, you did?
I didn't
Okay.
realize that while I was doing it.
Okay.
I love that you said that, because I love that kind of association. You
Okay.
know, I love that kind of association. I think it's, even if it's not intentional, sometimes it's it comes out from our subconsciousness,
Right.
but obviously it's intentional. But I mean, even when it's not. So, but I didn't have that in my mind when I did it. I wish I did.
Okay.
Wish I could do it again. Yeah, but I love yeah. I don't know why I didn't get to do more sexy people like her, but uh, but maybe I do. But yeah, it's just fun.
And since
So
obviously,
drawn, so great. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
well, since obviously with the dot hack series and getting to come back recently as Atali, have you how long did it take for you to like develop a attachment or relation at all to her?
For me, I wish we had more time um, I wish they gave us more in advance,
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, here, look at this. You get to see the whole story, and the anime is already there.
Yeah.
Watch it, but they don't. So you get kind of a shortened version. And I love hearing about this is this and this is what's going to happen and this is what has happened, and you are going to be the instrument of this that's about to happen. So I dive in immediately. I love, okay, what can I attach myself to? What can I, what do I, what can I, so I want to be attached immediately. But sometimes I don't have a lot of information. I wish I had more, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever I have, I just take. Okay, go, you know. So for me, I want to attach myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I try, and I think I do, because I feel like I do. I mean, my sense as I'm doing it is that I immediately do, or I soon do, when I'm in the room. My sense of it is that, which is very helpful because to see it, because you can just kind of throw yourself into it, um, and see what's happening to yourself up there, up on the screen. Uh, so that makes it easier in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's already done for you. The face is already there. Everybody around her is already there. So that makes it easy.
Mm-hmm. How about with because another major role was Outlaw Star.
It's Outlaw Star. Yes. Um, who directed that?
I'm pretty
Was that
sure.
Wendy?
I'm pretty sure Wendy did.
Wendy. I think Wendy did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Wendy did. I love Wendy. And now that I just did that Cowboy Bebop, I think Wendy directed that too.
Mm-hmm.
And was, in those days, um, for Wendy and, do you know Leah Sargent?
Yep.
Wendy and Leah and I were the first three that Yutaka and Kevin Seymour asked to voice the main character as we directed.
Mm-hmm.
So, so Wendy, I think, does the main character in Cowboy Bebop too. And I'm thinking, I got to get her on the ADR, except it's already done for the season. I'm not in charge of that show, but, great characters. Oh, so Wendy is a joy to work with. I don't think there's as much of that now. I'm sure there is some, then Mary Elizabeth started directing and is a great director and has directed so many things. and expanded, everything she's directed.
Mhm.
And maybe she does. Maybe they still voice what they direct, but I know like sometimes that in the recent years when I've gone to do a little part here or there, or some resurgence of a part that's come back, sometimes I don't know if they ask me, depending on who has it, I don't know if they ask me when something's come back, because then I'll find out, but sometimes if they ask me, I always say yes. And I know I'm going to remember what I was trying to say. Oh, it's not for people who are doing, not always for people who are doing the parts. It'll be like directors that are there just to
Right. Yeah.
Although Tony Oliver, Steve Staley, they voice and they direct.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Staley directed me in that one I just Demon Slayer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess with I'm sure it had to have been a lot of fun being in Mahoromatic.
Yes. 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 I like the little robotic-y type things too. I don't know if there's ever been a part I haven't really enjoyed. Even as time goes on and they let me do like Iris Feel and things that were older and Namie, I've had fun.
Mm-hmm.
I've had fun. And it's helped me, I think, because mostly I do voice work now. I've had to do so many different things in anime that's helped me with my ADR too.
Mm-hmm.
People can call me because call me for the computer in some big sci-fi movie or for, some robotic GPS for something or kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And how are you? Anything like Ryoko Asakura?
What is your takeaway on her? Like your immediate takeaway?
Well, I guess the first natural reaction is it's like, wow, this is totally not what it looks like on the surface.
Yeah.
But she's really convicted in what she wants to do, even though it's wrong.
Right.
But it's still just pretty bizarre.
Don't you think that happens a lot though in anime?
Yeah.
Where you don't know, and even us, because you start out as something and then at the end comes to find out you were, a spirit or a machine or the impetus for some change in the human relationships or something, but you're not human.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought you were the whole time, and you find out you're not, or something, or you were. But that's, I love. Have you ever seen the play All About Eve?
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing where you think she's one thing and she's really doing her best to get in,
Mm-hmm.
but she's very sweet and she's very, whatever. Can I help you with something? Sure. Let me, oh, you're not be able to make it? Oh, well, maybe I could help out, and it's like, all I want to do is get in there and take it over,
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm going to be really, really nice to you until I get you out of my way. It's unfortunate that there's been such a long spell that I haven't been able to do any anime because I do forget some things too. I'm glad you're reminding me of some things.
What about with Lucky Star? Or like they're drawn
Oh,
like.
yes.
I think you played the mom of Michelle Ruff's character.
Yes.
Yeah. Inori.
Michelle Ruff, I love Michelle Ruff. And Michelle does ADR too.
Yep.
I see her every once in a while, you know, and we're friends. So I see her in the world too. That's what I mean. When I started out, Michelle Ruff wasn't around. I mean, Michelle Ruff is the queen of anime, you know. And I like that I get to be the mom or the bad lady, not even the bad girl, the bad lady. You know, I get to drop my voice and be, you know, Namie or somebody that's different than how I used to be, get to play, you know. That's not very specific, I know, but.
No, it's okay. This is kind of a, do you remember your role in Trigon? It's small, but it's like really impactful.
I just remember that I did Trigon.
That's okay.
Yeah. Who did I play?
Rem.
Oh.
Rem Savarum.
Yeah. And what was I? What was I? I hate to ask that, but I haven't done it in so long. I'm sorry.
No, kind of like it's again kind of like a thing like KOS-MOS, or it's like a really important role that's kind of like the basis of everything.
Right. That turns out to be, yeah, the nascent thing that started this all. I did that a lot. I think actually in one that we couldn't think of, Goran.
Oh yeah.
That I was at too.
Right.
It's interesting that that's even something in anime. That's a thing. That's a. What does that mean? I don't know. I mean, it's what it is it's an attempt to have a huge picture of the world where the whole world or all humanity that are involved in this whole project are going to be changed, or there was a mission to come and influence the whole of humanity that are, you know, the humanity of that, whatever it is, you know, and a mission that's big ideas.
Right. Since you've brought up Namie so much, too, that because I've talked to Daryl Gilbo, who was one of the main characters in Durarara too.
I loved being Namie, and it kind of made me feel like hopeful for me. I mean, just as an actor, hopeful because there are plenty of people to do the other things, and you know, the little girl things, even though I still do little girls in ADR and stuff. I still do little girls, but I loved being Namie. I loved that she felt kind of the most like, I mean, besides the bigger things like Lane and all that, but I mean, it felt like, oh, this is my part in this film series is this woman, you know, who's kind of laconic, but kind of, you know, has intentions too, but she's cool. She's kind of cool about it, you know. She's like, and I like that development for me to do.
Right.
It felt exploratory for me as far as anime goes.
I like to ask this generally to voice actresses too. Have you done boy voices much in general?
No.
Oh, you have?
I have done boy voices. I do them now. I did one last week for some TV show. Or was it this week? It was this week for some TV show. I did did you ever see Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? Anyway, it's movie. That guy, when he was little, is me.
Oh, Flint?
Yeah.
Oh,
and yeah.
Wow.
Is me. And I do a lot of boys. I can do like little tiny boys, you know, and I can do boys. Come on, let's go do it, you know. Let's go play. Come on. Or I can, you know, even smaller voice, and I can get to be about, I don't know, like 14 or something, you know. I don't care. All right, man, let's try it. You know, whatever. But I can put more boy in it. But I can do from like, I'd say now, I was going to say 4 to 14. I just did a boy, the whole part of a boy, in a show called Turner and Hooch.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sorry to say it. Obviously I'm not the boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but I revoice boys a lot, and I do voice background, and I do redo somebody's whole part as a boy. But I love doing boys. In fact, on the show that I worked at, there's a whole Boy Scout troop, and I can't remember the name of it. I don't even know if I should, but anyway, a TV show, and there's a Boy Scout troop. So there's only 3 of us, and we were all women, and we were all doing boys. And so there's lots of kinds of boys. There's, you know, and then if they're bigger boys, or if they're, you try to find like, okay, I can give them more voice, or I can give them, you know, whatever. It's fun.
Well, I've noticed that, like, because when I've talked to Wendy Lee and Karen Strassman and Mona Marshall, I mean, and Mona's obviously known for doing boy voices. I mean,
Right.
everyone's process is so different. I just always find it really interesting.
Yeah. Brianne Sadal,
Yeah.
you know, did a lot of boys when I was directing, and Mona too. It's funny because I think once you start doing it, people then say, "Oh, she can do boys," and they'll say, "Oh, we got this boy, do this," you know, and then oh, and then you're get kind of put on a list, and you can. So like this job I did on Monday, I only got called because I do boys.
Oh,
Because she
yeah.
has her regular people she uses, but they needed boys.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, if that's great. Great, I got a job from it, you know.
Hmm.
And it's fun to keep exploring that, like making all different kinds of boys so you can be in the same scene 5 times
Right.
and not sound the same, you know. And still try to keep some boy in it, because some little boys sound like girls.
Right.
But if you're a girl doing a boy, they don't want you to sound like a girl. Even if the boy you're matching, like I've done a lot of matching where in the film they might only need a word or something. The boy did his whole voice or whatever. But then for his efforts, he's running away, or he's crying, or he's, you know, fighting, then they want to match his tone. So you listen to him, and maybe he has a really like high voice, like he's still a boy, but he doesn't have like a real, like a boy, like this kind of boy, you know. And so you try to match that voice, and he even does that, you know, with your things, and you think, okay, that boy has a high voice, but try to get some boy, you know, other sounds in it too, just to bring out the boy.
Mm.
Most people don't have one solid sound in their voice. Most people, I don't think. Your voice, you have kind of, you have a great voice. You have great
Oh,
hair.
thank you.
um,
I
your hair is amazing, actually.
Oh, thank you.
um,
Parts of it are kind of gray already, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is.
did you put that in there? Those little pieces of gray? Or
No, it's like from my mom's genetics.
okay. I mean, I can just see like 6 pieces of it, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of spots, yeah.
I actually took voice acting classes up here, but I guess Minneapolis is like the biggest place for non-union work for
Uh-huh.
voiceover stuff, so it's not really the best place for it, but
Well,
there could be something.
yeah, and you know, are you union?
No, I'm not. No.
Then you should do it. You
Yeah.
should do it. And commercials too. You should do commercials because a lot of commercials now are non-union.
Yep.
So you could do it all while you're non-union and get lots of experience. And then when you're union, you can decide, are you going to drop the non-union or don't drop it or whatever, that's up to you. But
that actually just makes me think, do you remember what your first job was to get your SAG card?
I do. It was for a Michigan, it was for the state of Michigan, and it was about the Capitol, and I was a teacher. And what do they call that? An industrial film, kind of. It was going to be
yeah.
Industrial film. So that was my first SAG job way back then. And soon after that, my next one where I had to join the union was Budweiser, was the first Budweiser commercial, which was the one with Leon Redbone. And then afterwards I did, then I was, then I did a lot of commercials and stuff and some TV and film. But yeah, that was my first one. I'll always remember it. Don Weeks. It's funny because the guy who introduced me to the people who were doing it for the audition is now not alive anymore.
Oh.
And he was, wasn't old.
Yeah. Well, I did think it was really cool too that, you've got to, for ADR, you've got to be in like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and things like that.
I've had a blast doing, I just did Vivo, Lin-Manuel Miranda's new film.
Oh.
I speak Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Do you?
No, I took German in high school.
I speak German too.
Oh.
The only reason I do is because I did a show called Man in the High Castle. Do you know that show? I already spoke some German.
Okay.
And Man in the High Castle is a great show about it's about a terrible premise, but I'm going to get in trouble no matter what I say. But anyway, what if the war had gone the other way and the Japanese and the German were here in the United States and they needed a lot of German and Japanese. And if you can learn any languages in ADR, you have, you increase your chances of being hired because you already know the skill of it. You know how to use the microphones, what's needed, you can hear the sounds of what's needed. But if you can then speak a language. But yeah, I think I did Vivo recently. I did the one that's out now, Spirit Untamed, Spirit, the horse. I played the baby horse, the lucky horse when he was a baby. Blazing Samurai I just did not too long ago, which is going to be fun. It was it's an animation based on Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yeah.
But it's with horses and cats and stuff, but it's samurais, So that's gonna be fun. Nomad Land, I got to work on. So, a couple of things that are, mostly now. I get to do films and I get to do fun things in them. Mostly now I do TV because there's more of it.
Right.
NCIS New Orleans, Nancy Drew. Lots of shows I get to work on. Young Sheldon, Cowboy Bebop.
Do you ever get to meet any of the on-camera actors?
Yeah.
Like pretty often?
Not pretty often, but if you end up being on a series for a while, you end up meeting them because they come in to do their ADR. And you're there and you leave so that they can do their ADR because they're on a tight schedule. So
right.
The group vacates the room and then they do the ADR, and they're, for the most part, lovely, very nice. One time I was doing CSI, but they usually just do their ADR, say a few things to a few people because you kind of get to know them over the years if it's something you not really know them, but recognize them and stuff. But one year, Tim Conway, do you know who that is?
Yeah.
came in, and he was on CSI. And I tell you, we would see, because we saw regularly the guest stars too, and the stars come in. But when Tim Conway came, it was the first time that all the people in the room wanted to meet him and go talk to him. Usually it's like, hey, how you doing? Or, this or that, or I happened, if you have something in common, but not that much interaction. They're busy, and but everybody wanted to meet him so much, and he stayed and did ADR with us.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to like hang out and make jokes, because he's funny, and see what we did and do it, and it was very, very sweet.
Have you ever been starstruck in that kind of situation, like meeting anybody?
One time I was at a benefit for the library downtown, and shortly after I got here, and Gregory Peck was there.
Oh, wow.
And I was introduced to him, and my name is Bridget, and he quoted a poem from Keats or Yeats, I don't know which one, that had my name in it.
Wow.
And he said to me, directly looking at me, for like, however, it was probably only a minute, but 3 verses, because he knew the poem, which was incredible that he knew the poem, and he heard my name, and he quoted this looking right at me. I thought, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was the closest that, I'll remember that always.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever, because I know that it said that you did ADR on What Lies Beneath too. Did you get to meet Michelle Pfeiffer?
Have I ever met Michelle Pfeiffer? I did her breaths for that.
Okay.
But like her lovemaking breaths, just the ones when she couldn't be there to redo them.
Yeah.
But when I was writing like little low budget films and stuff, her sister starred in a film that I wrote.
Oh, Dee Dee. Yeah, I've interviewed her too.
Yeah, Dee Dee Pfeiffer.
Very nice. She's great.
She's great. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago too. Yeah. So
I guess I have some final questions I can ask to. Is there, in terms of voiceover, not ADR, just I guess, well, maybe just in general, is there a role that you haven't played yet in your career that you hope that you still can? Like a kind of specific role?
Yes, I in the theater, I've probably done 125 roles in the theater. I mean, I've done a lot of theater. So when I was in the theater a lot at the beginning, it was like, I have the perfect part for you. And it would be, she's deaf, she's lame, she's, it'd be some injured, Tennessee Williams-like character, or often Tennessee Williams or whatever. When I first came here, and this just reoccurred to me recently, I thought to myself, strongly, I thought to myself, I probably really won't make it until I'm Helen Hayes's age. And I wasn't timid. I was never timid when I actually had a part, but I didn't get a lot of opportunities for auditions and things in the big, wide Hollywood thing. But I loved what I did because I got to do great parts in theater and in anime and stuff. But I wasn't brazen. I didn't have the greatest representation for long periods of time or anything. But I did, I thought, just all of a sudden I remembered that. Like a couple weeks ago, I thought, oh my gosh, maybe now that I'm getting older, I'll start playing the old lady parts now and get used to it And because often I do in ADR, and I'll start finding ways to be willing to be brave enough to be what it really is. And now that my son just graduated from high school last year, it's been a hectic year though since, for everybody I know. Maybe I'll be able to explore that. Maybe I'll be able to be the way more mature, the grandmother things, I feel like I've gotten to do a lot of different, evil people, sweet people, injured people, mentally injured people, physically injured people. But there may be more of those, just in a different wrapping, And there may be the willingness to just say, okay, this is what it is now. Go put that out there and see what happens. I don't know.
And when you did first get to LA for like in the early period, was there anything that happened, like any kind of, I don't know, wild or crazy incident that kind of made you step back and wonder if you were really doing the right thing?
I've made my living as an actor, entertainer, since I started, which is great. But you look back and you think, oh, maybe I should have, not done so many auto shows. Maybe I should have been around in town more. Maybe I should have, whatever. Or I don't know. But I feel like that's a big question, Chris. I'm going to sit here and stare and think for a while. But it's all evolution, it's all evolution. And at a certain point, it doesn't matter what the forum is. I mean, yes, it would be great if it was a different forum, or in addition to the forums I've been lucky enough to be part of. But it's all the work of an actor, the excitement and of embodying something that you may not always get the chance to, or exploring soul, the heart and soul of people, in whatever forum you get to be in, equity waiver theater, or, low budget films, or anime, or whatever you get to do. Or it's just for you, or for anybody, any of us, a class, a place, any forum where you get to go explore that, is like examining life, and trying to step into parts of it publicly, with the humiliation that goes along with it, with the insecurity that goes along with it, because that's the joy of acting too, being willing to step forward into the humiliation of the character, into the, trying to bring out what is about us as humans that needs to be seen,
right,
and needs to be heard, and I hope that's not over.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also kind of a just general question, but were you friends in that period too? Were you friends with anybody that was like around your same age that was up and coming in terms of like film or TV?
Oh yeah. I mean, in the theater companies I belonged to, there were people who became huge movie stars.
Oh, really?
Yes. And there were people who, never had an audition. And that's, I guess, what I say, the people who had the opportunities, and many created them themselves, many, had connections, but many, they still had to step into them. And the people who never had opportunities, but were still doing the same work initially, or in the same workshops, and working with the same acting coaches, or in the same theater companies, or whatever. And when you see that happen, and you see these other talented people that never had anything.
Mhm.
And you realize there were some people that just couldn't take that. They wanted only that. They only wanted to be a star or to be known or to be, and so they ended up quitting
Mhm.
because most of the people who are actors don't become stars,
Mhm.
you know, and even for many years have to live on relatively, or have another job or whatever, little pieces here and there. So you have to love it to be able, otherwise I saw so many tortured people who just didn't really, so they stopped loving it because they wanted to make it,
Mhm.
I don't know, how did we get into this very, very philosophical thing? But then it's like I have always paid my bills from acting,
Mhm.
but I have never, I wasn't very rich at all. I mean, but I didn't care.
Yep.
I didn't care. And then all of a sudden, all of this life has gone by, and who knows? Who knows? But you see, like, okay, I still had the same. I got to have the same experience of the roles I got to inhabit, of the places I got to play, and sorrow,
Mhm.
and show, expose. So my experience is for me, you
Mhm.
know, um, just fine and dandy, you know,
Mhm.
and artistic, and just on a different, nobody knows me, but I've loved the artistic life, and it doesn't, how I love it. I loved it before I started doing more ADR. I loved it, because ADR is a good job. It's a well-paying job.
Yep.
But so now I have more money than I ever did. I mean, as far as getting paid for what I do. Um, but I loved it just as much when I was doing theater for very little, and
Uh, no, I was gonna um, relate to that too, like, because the way that I like to end every interview I do is by asking what you want your legacy to be.
my son and my family to remember my heart, how much I love them. And I really would like the people I've worked with um, the same. I would like to be remembered as kind, and I would like to be remembered as hardworking. But I mean, in my little circle of the world, in the little circles I've made, I like that there's people who appreciate my work.
Mhm.
But the people who know me working, I hope they think of me as a good person and a easy to work with, ready to work, kind person.
Actually, have a story about how Fushigi Yuugi and the dub of that really helped me through something traumatic when I was a kid. When I was in fourth grade, I was just out to eat normally with my parents one night at a place that was really close to our house, and then all of a sudden we were about to leave, and we were told like, "Oh, nobody can leave." And then all of a sudden, like a bunch of SWAT officers come in and turn all the lights off, and then everybody who was in the restaurant has to go into the bathrooms and all huddle in there and be quiet because there was a guy that murdered two people who crashed his car outside the restaurant and is fleeing on foot. He's like shooting at cops outside the restaurant.
Oh
And
my.
so, yeah, and so we were in there probably for like 5 hours, and then we all had to get escorted to our car. And at that time that was going on, I was renting Fushigi Yuugi through Blockbuster's DVD mail system, like before Netflix.
Right.
So that was really the only thing I had to help me get through that when I was 8 or 9 or whatever
Oh
that
my
was.
gosh. That's traumatic. That's so
Yeah,
traumatic.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of heroism in Fushigi Yuugi.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people, and from people who aren't equipped for it.
Right.
Oh, bless your heart. Ay, ay, ay.
So,
I'm going to remember that,
oh,
Chris.
yeah. So I told the same thing to Wendy and Steve too. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm going to remember. Thank you. Thank you for telling. I mean, I'm so sorry, but thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Mm.
So yeah, thank you so much for willing to do this.
Well, thank you for thinking of me and putting up with this whole slew of things that have kept us apart. But thank you for, thank you.
Yeah. I'm because you were like in one of my main wish lists for voice actor interviews, and now it's just I've been in contact with Brienne Siddall. Now I just have to do her and all.
Yes.
Because she's been, I know that she's been out of the picture for a while, but I'm glad that I got to get in touch with her too. So
yes, that's nice. That's nice. Well, thank you for what you're doing for all of us. And
yeah,
you'll probably edit this, right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, you be well,
Yeah.
and go to all those classes. And all right.
Well, I can send you the link to this once I have it up. If you.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Have a good night.
Bye.